In these two sections, we're going to quickly review the linear functions, especially the point slope form, the slope intercept form, and all those linear function equation forms. Okay, so first thing is let's have you try figuring out the slope of the red line. So whether that is positive, negative, those kind of slope numbers. So go ahead and give that a try. Did you get these right? A lot of people get confused between 0 and undefined. 0 means that it's a flat line, so basically there's no change in slope. And undefined means that it's undefined slope, meaning this line goes straight up and down. Now, slope definition, there are a few. Typically, what we do is we kind of remember that slope is the rise over run, right? We always say rise over run. And then we remember that the formula to a slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So really, y2 minus y1 means the change in y. How much are you changing in the vertical direction? And so when we say change in y, we usually write this triangle. This is a Greek symbol. It's called delta. Delta means change. So change in y over change in x is slope. So then let's really quickly review how to find slope to a line that passes through 2 points. So for example, A, you have 2 points that create a line, and the question is, what is the slope? So remember that slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's just say that this is the first point, so this is x1, y1, and this is the second point, so we call it x2, y2. So therefore, what we do is put the points in. So y2 is 4, y1 is 7, x2 is negative 2, and x1 is negative 3. Now, every time you have a negative number that is put behind a operation symbol, please make sure you put parentheses around it so you don't forget that this is a negative number. So then doing a very simple calculation, this is negative 3 over, this becomes a plus, so this is 1. So the slope is negative 3. All right, go ahead and pause the video and give B a try. The answer is 0. Now we're going to review really quickly the three general forms of linear equation. The first one is the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. The second one is called point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The third one is called the standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. And there's a asterisk next to the standard form because I kind of want to talk to you about special things of how to write the standard form. But first, let's talk about the three forms, the two other forms. Slope-intercept form means that there is a slope and then there is a intercept. The question is, so slope is always m. So this is just something to remember. Slope is always m. The b is an intercept. The question is, what intercept? This is the y-intercept. Y-intercept, we're going to talk about that in a second. So just remember, this is the y-intercept, not the x-intercept. Point-slope form. So point-slope form means there's a point and there's a slope. So the question is, where is the point? The point is in this, wrong color, x1, y1. So x1, y1 represents a point, and then slope is m again. So let me write that in. This is the point, and this is the slope. The third one is called the standard form. Now, standard form has 3 letters, A, B, C, and we're going to talk about that. So in the standard form, A, B, C represents integers. So A, B, C has to be integers. And then the second thing is that in the standard form, A has to be positive. So those are the two major differences between standard form and the other ones. First, ABC has to be integers, so recall what integers mean, and then A has to be positive. Now let's talk about intercepts. So y-intercept, we know that is when the line crosses, it's the point where the line crosses the y-axis. And when does the line cross the y-axis? That is when x equals to 0. So when x is 0, we can find the y-intercept. When so then the opposite is true for x-intercept. X-intercept is the point that the line crosses the x-axis, and also that is when y is 0. So for example, let's do a few things. In this example, it says first write the equation in slope-intercept form. The second thing is after we find the slope-intercept form, we want to figure out what the slope and y-intercept is. And the third thing is to graph that line. So looking at this first equation, let's change it to slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form, remember, is y equals mx plus b. So what we want to do is move the 5x over. So minus 4y equals minus 5x plus 16. And the next thing is we want to divide by negative 4. So y is 5 over 4x minus 4. So then, just doing a matching game, we know that this is m, this is b. So the slope is 5 over 4, and then the y-intercept is minus 4. So then, let's kind of review how to graph a line. So we graph a line by starting with the y-intercept. The y-intercept is negative 4. That means it's the point where it crosses the y-axis. And then it tells us that this is the rise over run. So that means we're going to go up 4 and then up 5 and then run 4. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So a lot of people get rise over run confused. So when this is positive 5 over positive 4 means positive means since we're going rise is up or down, right? So then if it's positive, that means we're going up. And then run means left and right. And since this is a positive 4, we're going to go to the right because the right is more positive numbers. The left is all the negative numbers, right? If you think about the number line, going left is going towards the negative numbers. So since this is a positive 4, we have to run to the right. Okay, so, oops, sorry, trying to erase that. Okay, so what we're going to do is rise, go up 5, and then go to the right 4. However, we're kind of stuck here, right? This is like the end of the graph paper. So if we want to really go up 5, we can't really find a very accurate way to go up 5. So what we can do is actually change this into minus 5 over minus 4. Why does that work? Because we just need an overall positive number here. And if we have both negative, it will still eventually become positive. So that means we can actually go down 5 and then left 4, and we would get to the same place. So down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then connect the dots. So this is our line. So you can either go up or down. Just remember that your overall sign has to be correct. All right, B. This one's a little bit tricky because you can see that there are fractions, and I know you don't like fractions. I don't like fractions either because we tend to make mistakes. So I'm going to tell you a really quick way to get rid of all the fractions, which is multiply by the least common denominator. So you can see that there are two fractions with denominators. So then you ask yourself, what is the least common denominator between 4 and 2? And that would be 4. So what we do is we multiply by 4, and then we distribute that 4 to every single term. So then we get negative. So the first one is, okay, so let me kind of show you the slow way, and then eventually we're all going to do this in our heads. So distribute the 4 to every term. So that means 4 times this first term, and then 4 times this second term, and then 4 times this third term. And then we ask ourselves, 4 times negative 3/4 x. That means the 4 and the 4 cancels. We get negative 3x. Plus 4 times 1/2 y. We know that that's going to cancel. We have a leftover 2 there, so that's going to be 2y. 4 times negative 1 is minus 4. Okay, so now go ahead and finish this problem. So you want to get into slope-intercept form, find the slope, find the y-intercept, and then graph. All right, go ahead and check your answers. See if you got the correct line. So the slope is 3/2 and the y-intercept is negative 2. All right, now find the equation of a line through these 2 points. So if you're given 2 points and you have to create an equation of a line. There are several ways, but I'm going to teach you one way that I prefer. First, no matter what way you use, you have to find the slope first. So 7 minus 5 over 6 minus 2, that is 2 over 4, which is 1/2. The second thing is I always start with point slope form. I feel like this is a very fast way and you will basically get to the answer in one shot. So the point slope form. Okay, so the way point slope form works is you put in a point and you put in a slope. So which point should we use? We have 2 points here, right? The question is which one should you use? The answer is the easier one. So I always choose one that doesn't have negative signs because it's just negative signs. We tend to make mistakes when there are negative signs. And I also choose the one that has smaller numbers. So 2, 5 has smaller numbers than 6, 7, so I'm going to choose that one. Okay, so what we do is we put in y1, which is 5. Slope we know is 1/2 times x minus 2. Okay, now I want to get it into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to first distribute the 1/2. So 1/2 times that minus 2 is minus 1. And then add the 5 over. Y equals 1/2 x plus 4. And that's it. So go ahead and give the second one a try. Okay, go ahead and check your answer, see if you got the correct answer. A lot of times it's just if you made a mistake, it's probably something you did with the negative sign. So please be very careful and just write every step out if you know you're going to make mistakes. All right, now let's review really quickly about the characteristics of lines. So first, if you have 2 parallel lines or you have parallel lines, then what kind of slopes do they have? They have same slope, because they're going in the same direction. They have to have the same tilt, I guess, steepness. And then perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Oops, sorry. Opposite reciprocal slopes. So then let's look at an example. Given the equation of the line y equals 6x minus 2, what is the equation of the line that, first, is parallel and through the point 1, negative 3? So they're saying that there is this line that has this slope and intercept. You're going to create another line that is parallel to that, but it has to go through this point. So then you ask yourself, first thing is this line has to be parallel. So what kind of slope would it have? Well, the slope of the original line is 6. I want a parallel line, and we know that parallel lines have to have the same slope, so it must also be 6. And then the second thing is it has to go through this point. So how do I create a equation of a line if I have a slope and then I have a point? Well, you're going to use the point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then solving that, y plus 3 equals 6x minus 6. Please remember to distribute to the second one. A lot of people always forget the second one. And then subtract 3, y equals 6x minus 9. Second, you want to create another line. This line is going to be perpendicular through the point Same point, but this time perpendicular. All right, so again, the original line has the slope of 6. The perpendicular line has to have the opposite. Okay, so the opposite means it has to be the opposite sign. And then reciprocal. Reciprocal means flip that number over. So the perpendicular line has to have negative 1/6 as the slope. So go ahead and pause the video and then calculate the equation of this line. All right, I'm not sure if you were able to combine this. Most of you should be okay, but if you kind of have not done fraction for a long time, I'm gonna just quickly review this. So you need a common denominator, and also please don't do this on your calculator. The more you use your calculator to do this kind of algebra, the less the slower you're going to be in the future, because every time you see a fraction you kind of panic and then you run for your calculator. That's not good. We want to practice without a calculator as much as we can, so don't turn anything into fractions. Actually, just don't touch the calculator unless it's a very, very, very big number. So use as much of just thinking about it as possible. Okay, negative 1/6x plus 1/6, and then this is minus 18 over 6. So this is going to be negative 1/6x minus 17 over 6. Okay, the next thing is please do not turn any improper fraction into mixed numbers. We pretty much don't use mixed numbers from this point on, so please don't write something like this. Always write it like this, because we need to work with the fraction so much that if it's mixed number, it's just taking a long time to calculate. So please, only improper fractions. Next one, what is the equation of the line that's parallel to here going through here? All right, go ahead and pause this video, give it a try. Remember, you need to get it into y equals mx plus b in order to figure out the slope. All right, go ahead and check your answer. The answer is y equals negative 2x plus 6, and then you can see that the line is shown on the right. Now, when we use lines, we are really creating an equation that can be applied to real-life problems where we use the line to predict something. So, for example, let's look at this problem. The number of times a cricket chirps per minute depends on the temperature. The number of chirps in 2 seconds for 2 temperatures are shown on the bottom right. What is the equation of the line in standard form? All right, finally we got to standard form. So we are given 2 points, and we need to figure out the equation of this line in standard form. So let's just find the equation of the line first, and then we'll worry about standard form next. To find the equation of this line, again, we need the slope first. So 130 minus 0 over 80 minus 40. So that is 130 over 40, which is 13 over 4. Okay, so then y minus y1, I'm going to use the 40 0 because it has a 0. It's easier to work with. 13 over 4 times x minus 40. So y equals 13 over 4x minus 130. Okay, that's because 4 and 40 cancels, you get a 10. 10 times 13 is 130. Okay, so this is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. We need to get it into standard form. So remember, standard form is, let me write it on the right, ax plus by equals c. And we said that a, b, c have to all be integers, where a has to be positive. So this is definitely not in standard form because because x and y have to be on the left, and c is basically the constant, has to be on the right by itself. So that means this x part has to go to the left. So we're going to subtract to move it to the left. Negative 13 over 4x plus y equals minus 130. Oh, sorry about that. Very messy there. Okay, now is this in standard form? No, because a negative 13 over 4 is not an integer. It is a rational number. So what we have to do is we need to get rid of that fraction. And remember, I talked about this before. To get rid of a fraction, we multiply by the least common denominator, which is 4. So if we multiply by 4, remember that means distribute to every term. So 4 times negative 13 over 4x is minus 13x. And then 4 times y is 4y equals 4 times negative 130 is minus 520. Again, try to just do it in your head or do it on the side. Try to not use your calculator as much as possible. Okay, now is this in standard form? It's closer, but it's not quite because a has to be positive. This a is negative, so what we need to do is multiply everything by a negative 1. That would turn that into positive. So 13x minus 4y equals 520. So now this is in standard form, and this is good. This is our answer. The second thing says, if the temperature is 70 degrees F, how many times would a cricket be expected to chirp in 1 minute? All right, let's look at the question again. So in this graph here, we see that this is temperature on the bottom, and then on the side we have chirps per minute. So basically what it means is when it's 40 degrees, there are no chirps. When it's 80 degrees, there is 130 chirps per minute. So let's look at our y equals mx plus b form. So y equals 13 over 4x minus 130. So let me ask you a practical question. What does x refer to? Is x the temperature or the chirps per minute? You have to think about this in real life scenario. What are we graphing? And what does x actually mean? Is x the temperature or is x the chirps per minute? Temperature. Then what does y mean? Y means chirps per minute. So this tells us if it's 40 degrees outside, then there are no chirps. If it's 80 degrees outside, then there's 130 chirps per minute. So the question is, if it's 70 degrees, how many times will the cricket be expected to chirp? So 70 means what? Temperature. Temperature is what? X or Y? X. So then the question really is, when X is 70, what is Y? When X is 70, what is Y? So then what we want to do is just plug it into the function and check. So 13 over 4 times 70. So let's do some math here. So this cancels. We get 2 and 35. Oof. Okay. I think the numbers are big enough that we probably have to use the calculator. So 455 over 2 minus 130. I think this is where we want to use the calculator because it's a little big. All right, so this is 97.5. So we expect the cricket to chirp 97.5 times per minute. And would that make sense? So let's look at the graph. So 70 is probably about here, right? 50, 60, 70. So 70 is about here. So we go up to this line. Is this about 97.5? It's right under 100. So looks like we did the correct calculation. So this is really the practical application of any kind of linear equation. You're using it to predict something else from that same line.